I think I decided to become go into academics maybe just after I finished my BTech, because I did a summer training. It was nice, but I somehow didn't feel that the job was the kind of job that I was looking for. And so the only other alternative at that point was, I could have moved out of engineering or whatever, but the two choices were academia and industry. So it's really, really long back. It wasn't when I was doing something else. Then you have the freedom to define what you want to do. You choose your problem, you choose the pace at which you work, you choose the depth and the breadth of the problem. You can choose, to some extent, courses that you want to do, teach, and develop new material. Mostly, the best part is that you don't really report to anybody. So you don't have a boss. You don't have the politics that is associated with teams and bosses and so on. And you have a head, but it's only administrative. So I think all these words have arisen now. Mentor being different from teacher, being different from researcher, and so on. Yeah. To my mind, and the way we interacted with many of our faculty, uh, teachers in IIT, was that these roles were not very clearly distinguished, and most people you knew well, or the faculty you came to know well, either because of a project or you liked their course very much, whatever, and because you liked the course and you had some more interaction with them, was fairly comprehensive. One never had to think of what hat you're wearing while talking to somebody, and I don't think the faculty with whom we dealt with thought that, oh, now I am a teacher, now I am a mentor, and so on. So I think it is a given. If you have students, depending upon how your interaction goes, it can cover almost any area, from students' personal life to professional choices to anything. So I don't kind of see the distinction. Relationships between students and faculty are generally, if all goes well, they are fairly comprehensive. They are not restricted to this or that. So it's different. I think Kanpur was a more American place, not just in terms of the way people dressed, but also the way in which people approached faculty, interacted with faculty, the general student culture. For example, I think we as students over there were far more aggressive, and the faculty was pretty okay with it. And used to say things that we felt like saying. We never. So I never felt, for example, except for one or two faculty members who were known to be nasty, never really had a problem about approaching anybody. So, and I think that tradition still continues in Kanpur, but actually I don't see it in other IITs as much. It's there. It's not like people over here are very scared and so on, but I think the difference lies in the association of IIT Kanpur with US universities. So they brought in a certain culture of behavior, interaction, and so on. Whereas some of the other IITs came under the ambit of an American influence much later. And so, for example, IIT Bombay even till today has a lot of features which are like more like a university rather than like an IIT, where people are much more open or kind of fearless about what they say and so on. So I think IIT Bombay students are generally not quieter, what should I say? They are not as direct or as bold as I think we were. And I don't think it is a generational difference. I think it's a difference between the two institutions. Because I see the same thing there even today. So there are 2-3 things that I do. One is reaction engineering. Reaction engineering is more like the kind of reaction stuff you study in physical chemistry, but it's more more detailed, on more covers more processes, is in much greater depth and so on. So reaction engineering, you design reactors. When you study it in 12th class, you don't design reactors. You only study something called kinetics, and then so how do you relate it to building actual reactors and so on. The other, more specifically, what I work on is gas liquid reactors. So gas liquid or multi-phase reactors. So typically a reactor, the notion that you have is you have a beaker in which you have some colored water, the way you see it in films, and some smoke is coming out or some bubbling, frothing is happening. But there are reactors in which you have a gas and a liquid present together. So for example, if you are bubbling say carbon dioxide into sodium hydroxide, you know that it will form carbonate. But so it's a reactive system, but you have bubbling gas and liquid present together. So that's a multi-phase reactor. So in industry there are many things which are like this: absorption towers, bubble columns. Then the other area that is of interest to me is colloids. Colloids are suspensions of very fine solid particles. So they are normally very small, micron size or even smaller, nano size particles, or any dispersion. So emulsions, micro emulsions. How do you carry out reactions in these? So the surface science angle is that these dispersions or very fine particles, they get suspended or are formed in systems where you have very low surface tension. That means, so low surface tension, you take a bucket full of detergent and then you kind of, you shake it, you get frothy, bubbly stuff. So something like that. And surface science has lots of applications, from catalysis to actually making small particles. And I said my specific interest was to see if we could do reactions in such systems and so on. And the third, more recent kind of thing is a broader interest in nanomaterials. So making nanoparticles in different kinds of chemical broths and so on. So this is more a mixture of chemistry and again some surface science, and very often you carry out reaction to get the particles which precipitate, so that's also reactions. But these are the three kind of things that I do. There are a few differences, and I think they're very significant differences. Number one is that I think in general students are much more enthusiastic. Yeah, there, not here. And there's a general, what should I say, energy levels in the students. Not just about academics, but about other things also. They do a lot of other things, but you also see that energy in the classroom. So I think that is the most important. The second big difference is that cheating is much less over there. Okay. Whereas over here, I think cheating has reached proportions which are, what should I say?
Unacceptable.
No, it's unacceptable is a very mild word. I think the extent of cheating that, or general use of unfair means of all kinds.
Right.
Copying from, plagiarism, copying from old journals.
Right.
I'll put it bluntly. I think it has destroyed the very essence of an IIT education.
Okay.
And so, for example, the reasons that are given not just by students but by sociologists, and I understand those reasons when they come from students, but it doesn't make them acceptable, is that they say that, look, why should I bother about studying chemical engineering if I'm going to get a job in a consulting company or a software company? Or now you have, of course, more fashionable things like Ola cabs or Zomato or some other, So they don't see any relevance of what is happening in the classroom. And it is a fact that first of all, the number of core jobs available in any given discipline, except maybe computer science and electrical, are generally on the they are much lower than the number of students. And even the ones that exist, they don't pay as well compared to a lot of other jobs which are non-core jobs. So I can understand that general situation where students don't want to do. So if you want to earn money, I mean, if you have a choice between a 16 lakh job and a 10 lakh job or an 8 lakh job, I mean, I can understand why you would choose. Though I may not necessarily appreciate the fact that only money is determining your choice, but at least it's explainable. The third difference I think also has to do with it's not very marked, but I think sometimes it is worth, and here there are some positive. So for example, a lot of American students, especially undergraduates, they have this habit of depending upon TAs for every silly thing that happens to them. Whereas here it's the other way around. You will actually answer a question without knowing the answer, because you will figure out some way of copying it from somewhere.